Hello, this is News Desk. I am Amisi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up this hour, Asantehene 247 the second begins mediation of Bawku crisis. Today we've got details here on our desk. Also coming up, the special prosecutor calls for constitutional protection to establish the office as the sole agency leading the fight against corruption, rejecting what he describes as misguided calls to scrap the office and transfer its mandate to Shraj.
I have heard talk, perhaps Shraj should be given this mandate. It won't work, in plain language.
And later, more than 1 billion Ghana cedis spent on waste facilities, even as AMA warns of disease outbreaks as landfill sites reach capacity. We'll get the view of stakeholders. We also have business updates on our desk. Do stay for details. Welcome back, and we start from the Ashanti region. The Asantehene 247 the second will resume mediation efforts today between the two factions embroiled in the long-standing Bawku conflict. This renewed push for peace comes after President John Mahama reaffirmed his government's commitment to backing the Asantehene's leadership in efforts to restore calm and unity in the troubled area. Well, in a statement issued on April 15, 247 the second officially announced that the crucial mediation sessions will be held from today to May 1 at the Mensha Palace in Kumasi. These meetings are seen as pivotal moments in the national quest to resolve the Bawku disturbances. Let's take a look at that statement from the Asantehene 247 the second. But before we go into that statement, briefly, let's take you to the Asantehene to Mensha Palace for updates. Nana Boachi Yadom joins us live from there. Nana, what can you report?
See, just as you indicated earlier, the Mensha Palace released a statement indicating that the mediation process led by the Asantehene 247 the second is expected to begin today. We are currently at the Mensha Palace. You can see that among the several activities that the Asantehene is expected to be having at the palace today, one of them would include the mediation process in the Bawku conflict. We're expecting the forwarding factions to be here, but as I speak to you, they have not arrived yet. We are being told that the meeting is going to be an indoors meeting and is not going to be opened to the public, but then as and when they arrive, we are going to bring you up to speed details on that. But then let's bring you to some of the comments that were made in the earlier arrangements that took place between the Asantehene, the defense minister, and then the interior minister somewhere in the year. They came here to solicit the efforts of the Asantehene in mediating in the Bawku conflict. The Asantehene had given them his firm assurance in ensuring that there is peace, but had indicated that it should be devoid of political interference. And he made the clear assurance that somewhere around this year, which we are being told is today, he would be meeting the two factions. And that is what we are expecting to happen at the Mensha Palace today. The Asantehene was out of town on a private meeting. He arrived last week Wednesday, and then we are being told that he got into contact with the factions and indicated that today they're expected to be at the Mensha Palace. And so that is what we are waiting for. And as and when we get any of the factions, we are going to interact with them, Mamiesi.
Now, Nana, I know that we're expecting some, stakeholders who will be joining the mediation with the Asantehene. Do we know who is coming? Has anybody, showed up?
So far, nobody has showed up. We have some chiefs who are trooping into the palace. Some of them are going into the inner perimeter, where that's my back there. Normally, that's where the Asantehene holds private meetings. And so we've seen some chiefs when I came in earlier, they were going inside there. We also know that there would be government intervention. There should be government representatives who will join the mediation process. We have not yet met any government official, but that is what we are being told, that they are also going to join the meeting that is expected to take place today alongside the Asantehene and then the factions.
Adam, thanks for those updates from the Ashanti region, specifically the Menchia Palace. We'll definitely keep an eye on that mediation process. But let's head to the Upper East region and speak to correspondent Albert's story on the events happening there right now in anticipation of that mediation exercise in the Ashanti region. Albert, what's the latest?
Mami, I say things have been calm over the last 1 week or so. We haven't had any disturbances as far as we have heard. But you know that the chief of army staff was here earlier last week. This was on Tuesday, if I remember correctly, and he toured the Bawku area. He also held meetings with traditional authorities. The appeal was for them to commit to the peace process, to work with the security agencies in order to try and bring peace back to the area. And so you get the sense that the people are committed to this, because the chiefs and the traditional authorities who hosted him and spoke to him said that they were also committed to this, and they have been talking to the youth of the area to desist from confrontations with the security agencies, particularly with the military. And so these are the things that have been happening over the last 1 week. We are waiting to see how the beginning of this mediation process at the Menchia Palace will go. But the indication we get is that so far both parties are committed to the process. And if there are any challenges, what is going to happen today at the beginning of the process is what will reveal that to us. But for now, we do not get any indication that there's any sort of interference or any sort of challenge in terms of taking part in the mediation process.
Right. And just before you go, what sense do you get from the residents? Are they hopeful that this mediation exercise will bring, an end to the prolonged conflict in Bawku?
Over the last few weeks, you also get the sense that many of the people, particularly the youth, were beginning to lose confidence in the security agencies. At least if you look at the incidents that have occurred, would tell you that they were beginning to lose trust in the security agencies. And the cause have always been for the security agencies to be neutral and to be just to the civilians in the area. And so having a traditional face, a traditional leadership beginning this process is something that will be new. We also know that, at least for people in the Upper East region, traditional authority is something that they hold very dear to them. Let's not also forget that the reason why this conflict is there in the first place is because of traditional leadership. And so there are those who have the confidence that this process is something new. It's something that can bring a totally different dimension to the peace process. But until it begins, we are not able to tell how exactly it will go, because normally there will be people that may raise some objections to how certain things are being done. And so that confidence that this process is going to bring something new in terms of the dimension of mediation is there, but you get the sense that they are waiting to see how it will go for them to have that full confidence that this is going to finally be the way to go in terms of restoring peace to all.
Right. Thank you so much, Albert Sari. He's our correspondent in the Upper East region, and we'll definitely keep an eye on this developing story. And moving on, Special Prosecutor Akisi Ejabing is pushing for constitutional protection to cement his office as the sole institution mandated to spearhead Ghana's fight against corruption. At the Constitutional Review Committee Forum, Mr. Ejabing dismissed what he described as misguided calls to abolish the office and hand over its responsibilities to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. He argues that weakening or dismantling the OSP would be a step backward in the country's ongoing battle against graft.
I've heard talk, perhaps Shraj should be given this mandate. It won't work in plain language. Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Let Shraj stick to its mandate, which is human rights, and write the OSP into the Constitution as the focal institution to tackle anti-corruption. With this, Shraj always works in hand with the OSP. The two institutions also work in hand with IOCO, as IOCO also focuses on economic crimes. And in our estimation, since 2018, in the space from us working, this works out perfectly.
Well, the former Supreme Court Judge, Sophia Denyira, who is also a member of the Constitutional Review Committee, wants the powers of prosecution of corruption cases firmly placed in the hands of the Special Prosecutor.
We don't need the debate about separating the office of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice, but rather concentrate all, I will call it public prosecutions of both public and private persons in relation to corruption. All public prosecution in relation to anti-corruption should come to your office and leave order like murder and sitting with the police and the Attorney General's office.
Azim on this interesting development. We're grateful for your time, Mr. Azim. He joins us via phone lines. Is he on? Do we have Vitus on the line?
Yeah, I'm on the line.
Thank you very much. Well, this, development about handing over the responsibilities of the Office of the Special Prosecutor to Shraj, do you think it's a wise decision to make?
I think there have been two schools of thought on this. There was an initial debate about the mandate of Shraj, that it was too much for it to handle. And so there was a request that we have a separate institution that will handle the anti-corruption mandate. But there was also a reason why they set up the Office of Special Prosecutor. There were calls on the government to separate the Attorney General's office from that of the Minister of Justice, because the Minister of Justice is a political institution, and they thought that it wasn't okay for the Attorney General to handle the anti-corruption aspect. So when the Office of Special Prosecutor was created, the debate about taking away the responsibility of the anti-corruption mandate of Shraj from it ended. So for me, I would say that whichever institution remains, the important thing is to give it the necessary resource and some independence to carry out its mandate.
Well, are there any overlapping, responsibilities between these two institutions such that they should be meshed into one? Looking at their mandates, do you think that there's anything overlapping there?
Yes, there is something. It's overlapping. I've told Shraj has an anti-corruption mandate. But Shraj has three mandates: anti-corruption, human rights, and administrative justice. So sometimes Shraj appears to be overwhelmed with executing these three mandates. So if they take the anti-corruption mandate and give it also to a special prosecutor and give it the necessary resources to do it, I think that is fine.
So you support the idea that we should maintain the Office of the Special Prosecutor as well as Shraj and let them, engage in what they're doing. Just that the mandate of Shraj in the regard of fighting corruption should be handed over to the office of the special prosecutor, so they focus on human rights issues?
Yes, I think that will be fine. They'll focus on human rights issues, and then it has got administrative justice mandate as well. Provided you give the office of special prosecutor the necessary resources and the independence carry out its anti-corruption mandate.
But the resources have been, major concern, especially to that office, where they are unable to execute fully their mandate. If that is not happening, eventually should they fold up the office?
Well, I don't think that should be a reason to fold up the office, because it's not the only institution that has problems with resources. Several government institutions have problems with inadequate resources. They should manage with whatever they get, and we'll see what happens. But you cannot just say fold up because you don't have resources. Can we say the government should fold up because the government doesn't have resources to manage the country?
What do you make?
Hospitals don't have enough resources, but they are doing their work.
But what do you make about, we have the YOCO, we have the police CID, we have other investigative institutions, all trying to establish, or curb corruption and other crimes related in the field. Do you think that we should bring all those issues under one umbrella, such that the resources needed to fight corruption is indeed done well under one institution, instead of dividing the meager resources that we already have into so many institutions doing almost the same thing?
I don't think that it will be necessary to do that. You see, when you look at each of those institutions, they have their specific mandates. What we need to do is to clearly spell each institution's mandate for it, so that there will be no overlapping.
All right.
If there's no overlapping, there won't be this confusion. But then also, apart from avoiding overlapping, you also have to make sure that they work together and share experiences and reports with each other, so that it can successfully execute their mandate. Some time ago, when I was at here, I would try to bring them together to try the accountability institution and help them to understand that each information, like if YOCO is already investigating a case, Office of Special Prosecutor does not have to come in. But if Office of Special Prosecutor has some information that will help the YOCO to investigate, it should give that information to YOCO. The same thing with the police. Police should not refuse to give information to YOCO or to Office of Special Prosecutor if that institution has already started investigating the matter.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Vactus Edzim. Now, moving on, over the past 8 years, more than 1 billion Ghana cedis from the ESLA levy has been pumped into maintaining major landfill sites and waste facilities. In Accra, the AMA revealed a high risk of disease outbreak as the Accra Metropolitan Assembly declared all landfill sites full. This revelation was made to the Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources, which went on a working visit to the assemblies in the Greater Accra region. Engineer Solomon Noy spoke on the challenges the AMA was facing in managing waste in the capital. Let's recap this report on the visit by the Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources to some assemblies.
The Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources has begun a 3-day fact-finding mission to the MMDAC in the Greater Accra region to understand why the assemblies are not able to manage waste in the capital. It emerged during separate presentations by the assemblies that an ongoing sanitation improvement package contract signed between government and assemblies through the dissolved Ministry of Sanitation has ceded a chunk of the work to waste management company Zoomlion without their input. Here's Metropolitan Coordinating Director of AMA, Douglas Anofu.
In fact, at that meeting, it became obvious that they should have met us before the signing would have been done. But I only had the option of just signing, because after I was told I'm just a witness. And so whether I sign or not, the agreement is being signed. So that's what unfortunately happens.
Similar frustration was echoed by managers at the Koleklote Assembly and Ayawasu North, who raised concerns over Zoomlion's failure to fully execute the terms of the agreement. For instance, only 3 out of the 15 designated collection sites under the AMA are clean, with refuse containers emptied. The rest 12, according to the Assembly's checks, as of Sunday, April 13, 2025, are in a mess when a number of them do not have any container on site. Metro Public Health Director of AMA, Florence Kuchi, says the contract must be decentralized.
If you are not a department in the assembly level, you are a unit under the central administration. And when there is budget, the budget goes to the central administration. And when you go to the central administration, priority is given to projects that they want to carry out. So always what I say is, central government should put more priority on the environmental health officers. Give the environmental health officers resources. Give them the needed logistics that they need. And just give them some few short period and see whether we will see whatever we are seeing within the communities. The neglect of the environmental health officers is what we are seeing in the communities, and that is impacting with the diseases outbreaks that we are having.
Director of Waste Management at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Engineer Solomon Noy, also revealed that all assemblies are compelled to send their waste to the eastern region because all landfill sites in the Greater Accra region are full, and a possible disease outbreak cannot be ruled out.
If we collect the waste from Accra, one point, we think we are sending it far away. But it is not far, because it is not an engineered landfill site. There is no leachate control. So for instance, if it rains, the leachate from that dam site finds its way into depressions and rivers, and they come back to us in the city.
Here's Chairman of the committee, John Oti, Bless's position on the Assembly's concerns.
I believe every contract has clauses, and there are implications in suspending or cancelling government contract. So the only thing is that we'll hammer in the points, draw government's attention, meet the service provider. As a committee, we're going to invite the service provider. We'll meet with him and caution and make it clear to him that he should put his feet down and begin to change his ways. So we believe that things will change from now on. Once we are on the ground with you guys, we'll make a lot of impact.
The committee's tour continues on Tuesday. James Havage's report for Joy News.
Well, that was a recap of that report from the AMA some weeks ago. But information from ESLE's 2024 report reveals more than 1 billion cedis was pumped into maintaining landfill sites and other waste facilities. Let's take a look at the numbers. And so when you look at your screen, you realize that 1.21 billion cedis was used to support the maintenance and management of major landfill sites in the country between 2016 and 2024. Now, 452.7 million Ghana cedis was used to support the maintenance and management of major landfill sites alone. So the first one was landfill sites and other waste facilities. But this amount, which is 452.7 million, was used to maintain major landfill sites alone. And in 2024 only, that was just last year, 357.1 million Ghana cedis was pumped into the management of landfill sites. And so if these amounts were paid, how is it that the landfill sites are still full? Well, joining us for a conversation is Florence Kuchi, Director of Public Health, AMA, and Amma Ofori Entry, Executive Secretary, Environmental Service Providers Association. Welcome, ladies, to this conversation. Amma is joining us, I think, via telephone lines. But let me start with Ms. Kuchi. Thank you, and thank you for joining us on our desk this morning. I haven't heard your voice.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, given that 1 billion cedis was pumped into the management of landfill sites and other waste facilities, do you think that that amount has been has addressed the challenges of landfill sites today?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me use this opportunity to say good morning to all well-meaning environmental health officers throughout the whole country, popularly known as Sama-Sama.
Okay.
We know that people are calling back the Sama-Sama, but we want them to know that they are living with the Sama-Sama wherever they are. The Sama-Sama are still in place. So talking about the amount of money that have been poured into managing the landfill site, the issue is the landfill sites that we have now, let me say in the Gama area, is managed by a private entity. It is not wrong, because when you take sanitation, sanitation has 3 pillars. We have the public health pillar, that is the environmental health aspect. We have the business pillar, that is where the private person comes in. Then we have the public good aspect, that is when all other recyclable material have been withdrawn from the waste, the remaining that has nothing to do will then be diverted to an engineered landfill site. But as we talk now, for the best of my knowledge, we do not have an engineered landfill site in this country. Let me say in the Gama Enclave, because I've not traveled all the regions. So let me talk about the Gama Enclave. We do not have an engineered landfill site. The engineered landfill site we used to have was at Pong, but it was decommissioned because its purpose was not meeting the needed achievement that its use was supposed to be. So it was full and overflowing, so it was decommissioned. And then a new engineered landfill site was supposed to be placed at a place called Aidan. But let me put this to perspective. Waste is a public good.
Right.
It's not an individual good. It's not a private good. It's a public good. So after the businessman comes in to take over the goods that will come out of it, then the remaining public goods supposed to be handled by the government, because every public good belongs to the government, either liability or asset. It belongs to the government. So since the government has no engineered landfill site, we are waste-producing animals. Wherever you find human beings, we produce waste. If you place an animal on the left and place a human being on the left for 3 days, when you come back, the kind of waste the human being will generate will not be equated to what the animal, you may see only droppings, but you won't see anything apart from that. And the animal dropping is a form of manure that we can use to even reclaim a land or use for farming. But what the human beings will bring will be a mixture of waste. You have the plastic, you have the organic, you have the paper, you have the metals and all that. So we do not have a government landfill site. So if the private person is coming in, maybe that money has been given to the private person to manage the landfill site that he or she has acquired. That is serving the populace of Gama.
Right. So you're saying that these monies, none of them came to the AMA to even, manage public attained landfill sites?
So, when you take the Honorable Kobna Hwe's local governance book, a session he rightly wrote that Ghana practiced centralized procurement in a decentralized system. Means that so many things happened at the top that should have been happened at the down. We are not saying people do not have the right to do that. People have the right to do that because there are rules and regulations in everything. But when you come to implementation of WASH policies, they are supposed to be carried out by the local government ministry and implemented at the assembly, the district assembly levels. And the people who supervise these policies to see to it achieving is the environmental health officers in all the MMDAs within the country. So if issues as such will go on, it should start from the local government ministry, maybe come down to the, the district level. So officers may also know what is going in, but sometimes things don't go that way because of the way the practice is. Look, when you take the the SDGs technical report from the NDPC, you will see that there are 162 targets from the 17 SDGs. And when you take the synergies, WASH alone has 132 linkages with all the 17 goals and all the 162 strategies or targets. So it just tells you that if you invest much on the WASH with the appropriate technical people, a lot of things will happen, and when you are able to achieve the WASH side, the externality will have a positive impact on the remaining 16 sustainable goals.
So Ms. Kuchi, let's break this down. I mean, let's come to the Greater Accra region, where fuels remains a major concern, a major issue. You, on several occasions, have gone around the markets and other places to ensure that people keep the environment clean. In other respects, they've had to pay fines, sometimes even, prosecutions and whatnot. But the real issue here, after, some visits by this engineer Noy and his team, they realized that the landfill sites have reached their capacity. And it brings about a worrying trend of, public health concerns. So from where you sit as a director of public health, and with this situation where we know that at least some monies have been released by government to ensure that these landfill sites, whether private or public, are taken care of, and that doesn't seem to be the case. Some are at their capacity. How is it that, how worried are you at the situation? What is happening? What's the AMA steps that they're taking to ensure that there is no outbreak of diseases that will affect residents? Let's take Greater Accra.
So thank you very much. So let's take Greater Accra. Just as you rightly said, I said waste is both public health, business, and then public good. So at the district assembly levels, we have there's a policy that 80% of waste management should be acceded to the private entity, and the 20% should be given to the district assembly to manage. But the question is, the 20% that have been given to the district assemblies to manage, that is going to be supervised by the environmental officers in the district assembly. How well are the people that are supervising these projects resourced? That is another thing. The officers that are supposed to handle these issues, they are even a unit at the assembly level, at the local governance system. And at the local governance system, if you are a unit, you don't even have a budget on your own. Any money that is coming from the central government to the district assembly, it will go to the central administration budget pool. And then that is where everybody is pushing something out. One, you may go to buy, trucks, brooms, all to ensure that you clean the place. But if the behavior of the person within the community is not changed, you will do all those things, it will still come back to what? Square one. But most at times, the social service delivery system thing is not mostly given priority to. We always want to say, we are cleaning, we are cleaning, we are cleaning. The issue is now, the private person is supposed to do A, B, C, D. There are times they don't do.
Who is this private person? You keep.
It is not one. As I'm saying, waste management is a lot of people plays a role in the waste management space. It's not just one person.
We'll come to that.
Yes. But, so I'm just making a point. So the issue is the remaining 20% that the assembly is supposed to carry on. The logistics are not even there for them to use to collect the waste. When you even collect the waste, where are you sending it? You send it to a landfill site that is not engineered. There are no leachate checks at the landfill site. You go to dump this waste there, even including medical waste. And when it rains, the leachate sinks down to pollute our underground water. The water goes down, somebody goes to fetch it and drink. Then it brings what? Diarrhea. It brings cholera. It brings typhoid fever and others. That is where the mosquitoes are also breeding. What does mosquito bring? You get malaria, yellow fever, and other diseases.
So I'll come back to you. Let me go on the phone lines and speak to Ama Forinchi, who is Executive Secretary, Environmental Service Providers. Ama, I know you're following the conversation, and this issue about landfill sites reaching their capacity, even though there's some monies going out there to take care or manage it. What do you make of it? Do you think that those monies have been, utilized well to manage these landfill sites?
And I want to send my greetings to your listeners. I'm happy with all that Florence has said. When it comes to landfill management, first of all, I want us to see what is happening as a national issue. And we need to be very objective, be realistic, and come up with solutions. Because as far as I'm concerned, local government and private service providers, we work in collaboration. We are partners. And when it comes to local governance, it's all of us. The fact that a private person is in there doesn't mean that the responsibilities are being geared off or are not being properly aligned. What do I mean? Have the policy. We have a policy. If the assembly has challenges, and over the years, we over-review, and it's just like suddenly Ghanaians have forgotten the input and the good work that the private sector have done to support this country. The Ghana Statistical Service report 2021 said collection of waste management has improved in 6 regional capitals in this country. A lot of work has been done. So we should not make it look like nothing is happening in this country as far as our waste management is concerned. Per the policy, assemblies are supposed to provide the final disposal site for the service provider to go and dump. Even when we take the Gamma area, all the assemblies, that their franchise contracts, have they given us a final disposal site? Then there's a private sector initiative. And then the private sector person provides a landfill. Do you know what it costs to acquire a land and then let alone use the land for a landfill? And one truth, we need a smart financing of waste management in this country. And that is one truth we are all running away from. When Flores was talking, he said, do the assemblies even have logistics for just 20%? Assemblies cannot even afford logistics for 20%. And private sector is there managing 80%. It doesn't mean that we do not have our challenges. We have our challenges. When you take a cost managing a landfill for a day, Florence can attest to it, the engineers can attest to it, and that is why even the assemblies have had difficulty managing waste in the assembly. Management of waste is capital intensive. That is why in all countries that they have been successful, they pay waste providers, they pay the contractors per tonnage for collection. And we want to perform magic in this country, and we are going around in circles.
So are you saying that the over 1 billion cedis that was given wasn't enough to maintain these landfill sites? Is that what you're saying?
Can I break it down for you? Do you know what goes into management of a landfill in a day? It's over, it can get close to 800 or even a million cedis in a day. Do you know how much it costs to manage a landfill? So when you hear the figures, and you can even Google, I wish we can have a national dialogue on this subject. See how much foreign countries spend per tonnage at the final disposal site. It's over $20, $13. Even in Ghana, we are not even, the landfill operator is not even taking up to $10 or $15.
So Amma, briefly.
Hear the figures.
Briefly.
I think they are huge. The way there's so much buwaha going on now, I wish we could have a national dialogue and then break these things down and look at a holistic approach of solving our waste management challenges and solve the blame game. Because it is the right of Ghanaians. Ghanaians, it is their right and it falls within their right.
Right.
The government to provide a clean environment for all of us. And this is where we should be heading towards as government, as private sector, and then as key stakeholders. We need to find a smart financing solution for waste management in this country.
Well, Amma, so that point.
Even the fees for us are not cost recovery, and all the work done are even not even breaking even. They know it. We sit with them. We have calculations. We have formulas we can use.
So, Amma, let me come in here. Let me come in here. So, would want to understand what happens. Very briefly, what does it take to maintain? What's the process that the field goes through to ensure that the landfill site is maintained, so that we have an understanding or relate to what you're telling us? Very briefly.
So, in management of a landfill, you need very specialized mechanized machines, bulldozers. When the waste is done, there is a process that it goes through. You have to do the liquid management, there's irrigation, and then there's capping. It is the capping that is very important, because if it is not done well, we might not even get land in the near future to continue the process. So once the waste is done, then you have to get sand. So what's the cost of sand, a tipper truck? And in a day, you might need about 100 or 50 or more to fill to level up the ones that have been delivered in a day. So on daily basis, those are some of the logistics. I've not talked about fuel, operations and maintenance. Look at a country where fuel every quarter is in.
So with all this process you've talked about, how much will it cost in a day to get that, managed?
So I wouldn't want to speculate, but I know management of a landfill on a daily basis can be equal to 1 million cedis or more, depending on the capacity of the landfill. And currently, as we speak, Accra has not got any landfill. So all the service providers, everybody has towards Accra landfill. And that is the landfill they are all using.
Right.
So the assemblies also have the role to play to ensure that they will provide the landfill for us. They've not done it. A private entity invests. And once a private entity is investing, private entities are there for profit making.
Right. Amma, thank you very much. Well, let me come back to the studio. Florence, we have very little time, and so let me just briefly ask you this. And what I'd like to know now is, now the landfill sites are up to capacity. We are also in the rainy season, and the filth is still being generated. So now, when you collect the filth, where do you dispose of it?
So what we are doing is we are educating our populace to begin with what we call the waste source segregation. So when you segregate your waste at the source, those that will be recycled, money will place on it. The person who is doing the recycling may come to buy the proper segregated waste. The organic one, we can use it to come out with compost manure and divert it into backyard gardening. Then the little that will be left, it will now go to the land, what will I say, the already full landfill site, until we begin to do source segregation. If we don't do source segregation, then lumps up all our waste. That is our problem we have in this country.
That you're doing now, but yes, specifically today, if my bin is full and it's picked up, where is it put?
It is going to Adepa. And that is where it is. That Adepa is the only place we have now. And Adepa is not an engineer landfill site, as I said. It is just a managed site that we are sending waste to.
Which will also be full in no time.
It is, even technically, it is full. So what we are appealing to the government is, the Ayuda landfill site that a sword was cut some 2 years ago, they should be in haste and make sure that it is being worked on, and then we have our landfill site. There is no country that can manage without a landfill site. Whatever it is, you cannot have a zero landfill site. After taking the business aspect of it, the little that is left must be managed properly so that we can reduce or impact on public health.
And just before we go, I would like to know from you that, Zoom Lion contract has become a topical issue. Do you think we still keep the contracts with them?
So I cannot say whether we should keep the contract with Zoom Lion or we should not keep the contract with Zoom Lion. What I can say is waste management should not be monopolized.
Right.
It should be generalized so that people can come in. When everybody comes in and then somebody is not doing well, you will know that you have a competitor. So everybody will want to do well.
All right.
That is all that I can say.
Thank you so much. Florence Kuchi is Director of Public Health, AMA, and we had Ama Ofori Entry, Executive Secretary, Environmental Service Providers Association. Right about now, we go for business. We'll be right back after this break.
It's now time for business on Newsdesk. My name is Winston Taki, and out to our first business story. IMF is rejecting warning that Ghana's program with the fund is under threat and risks ending without meeting critical targets. Judge Wiafe has more from Washington, D.C., USA.
Speaking at a special engagement with a group of Ghanaian journalists here in Washington, D.C., the head of the mission for Ghana, Stefan Rode, noted that Ghana's program with the fund is on track and doesn't see any challenges with it as we speak right now.
If you look at the PFM Act, that 1.5% of GDP primary balance is enshrined in the law. It's not just an objective that is negotiated by the IMF. It is actually Ghanaian law. So that makes us quite confident that this is going to be achieved going forward, and that it will help tremendously with bringing down debt going forward and making the Ghanaian economy more resilient. That will help assuage concerns about debt vulnerabilities going forward.
He was, however, quick that this is dependent on government sticking to the program conditions to ensure that it ends on a good note.
But of course, there is a but, and the but is that the program has to be implemented. So the government has to adhere to the target, right? The government has to implement the reforms that are planned for in the program. This is very important. So it's not just today, but it's in the next few years. The program commitments have to be to continue to be implemented. Certainly 2025, 26, the budget for 26 will be important as well.
He's however ruling out that Ghana may have to extend the program due to the challenges that they are looking forward to in the coming years.
You know, to be frank, this is not something that we have been discussing with the authorities. Because of what we have discussed and the deterioration in performance in 2024, the focus in the context of this mission that just took place was very much on what needs to be done to make sure that the program is on track and to make sure that those objectives are achievable. This was really what the discussions focused on.
The head of mission for Ghana, Stefan Rode, has also been responding to argument on the basis that went to the fund reaching a staff-level agreement with Ghana, looking at the targets for 2024, as well as the forward-looking commitment by this administration.
A lot of the forward-looking component had to do with how to make sure that, given that underperformance, how to make sure that the program objectives remain achievable going forward, and what type of policies have to be implemented to make sure that the objectives are achievable. So we talked about the fiscal situation. We had some slippages. The performance was not as good as envisaged, But do we have policies now in place to make sure that the objectives are achievable going forward? And the response is yes.
The head of mission also maintained that the fund supports government plan to bring in private participation when it comes to ECG and its operations.
We have the full story and updates on myjoyonline.com for all related business from the IMF. George Wafe bringing us up-to-date information from what is happening from Washington there. Now back to Mamiesi for the rest of the bulletin. Mamiesi.
Yes, Winston, and I'm hoping that this will be the Ghana's last IMF, program. I certainly hope that this will be the last.
We keep hoping, but we still keep going.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And that's how we wrap up Desk for this morning. I am Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson. Stay by for other programs. Thank you for watching.